This is Honkai Star Rail, a new Hoyoverse space fantasy RPG.
Let me try some combat. Oh my god!
Honkai Star Rail, a new Gacha RPG from the developers of a certainly well-known greedy company, MiHoYo, or now commonly known as Hoyoverse. You know Hoyoverse. They created well-known titles such as Honkai Impact 3rd, and the most popular game to have ever come out during the pandemic, or at least in my opinion, Genshin Impact. Out of all the games they have developed, Genshin Impact is a game that I have a lot of ties with since I began playing that game in 2021 and have fell in love with many aspects of that game and hated others. I honestly didn't want to see myself playing this game a few years ago when it was announced, but here I am in 2023 playing it, and honestly, I have a few things to say about it since it left me pleasantly surprised. Before I continue, my name is The Real A-Town, aka RGB Fox, and if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, consider subscribing, and sit down and relax as I go into why I really enjoy this game right now. I can't believe I'm saying this, but Hoyoverse truly got me hooked on another gacha game. You're 2 for 3, MiHoYo, and I pray that Zenless Zone Zero doesn't have me in a stranglehold whenever that gets released. Now, on to Star Rail. I gotta admit, the characters in this game are refreshingly attractive to look at, and I don't just mean based on their looks, but their clothing, their unique flair to their characters, and overall personality. Every now and then, I do get reminders from Genshin characters through some of these units, such as this maiden who reminded me of Diluc. Or this girl who, I mean, come on, is this unit not based on Sucrose? And let me tell you, the music for this game is just as great as I expected it to be. If there's one thing I enjoy when playing Genshin, it's roaming around the world listening to the music in the overworld, especially in Inazuma, and it's no different here. The combat system also takes me back as it's very similar to other gachas that I have played such as Data Live, Blue Archive, and Z-Girls 3, so immersing myself into the space is very easy. That being said, it's not as complex as Genshin's combat system where you want to track your character buffs appropriately, allocate resources such as energy recharge, attack, and resistance shred, but also the fact that there is no elemental reaction system, so it gives players a simple way to interact with the mechanics, and players of Final Fantasy, Fate Go, and other turn-based RPG players can really fit in if they wanted to play this game. There is a few gripes I have though. Progressing through the story, you'll notice that sooner or later, variety does come in the form of enemy weaknesses that you may or may not have, and that's where the gacha aspect hits hard. Sure, you have access to welfare characters that are given to you for free, such as main character who's a physical brawler type, March who is an ice type, and many more, so overall, your bases are covered relatively well, but man, I admit, sometimes that isn't even enough, and wanting to get higher damage output to clear enemy mobs, whether it's in the open world or as needed in the story quest, it is apparent right now that high damage is the name of the game. Worried that your units will die quickly? Just finish them off before they can touch you. It's a problem that I foresee in the early game, but as you continue, you shouldn't feel restricted. Do note, as you advance in the story, it can be quite easy to see a considerable gap in your character's level and the enemy's level, and in order to combat the issue, there are areas that offer experience books by clearing mobs and leveling up your units' level, talents, relics, which are the equivalent of artifacts in Genshin, and even getting additional copies of characters here and there can be beneficial in decreasing the level gap and increasing your overall damage output. In order to beef up your characters, you'll soon realize that resource management will be important. Can you level up all your characters and power them up one by one? Sure, but in every gacha game that I've played, doing so can actually be a net loss instead of a win in many cases. I mean, it's almost been 2 years since I've played Genshin and I still have some level 1 units because it just doesn't feel beneficial to level up every single one of them when some of them just are downright terrible. If you're worried that some of the characters in the game are bad, I wouldn't keep those worries, to be completely honest with you. I see this issue happen all the time with every gacha, where people will pull out some disastrous tier lists, and while yes, some units can be better than others, I don't feel as if they're that important, unlike in Genshin. In Genshin, the elemental system is very important to your team's success, such as elements like Anemo, Dendro, and Hydro, which make up for some of the best elements to be offensive with. Anemo, along with 4P's Veritas and Veneraire, provides amazing swirl damage and resistance shred potential to increase your team's elemental damage. Dendro is just outright busted with how much damage can be done in specific team builds, such as, I don't know, Spread, Hyper Bloom, and more. And then of course Hydro enables a lot of great reactions such as Freeze, Vape, Electroshock, Bloom, and more. As a result, there's a huge emphasis to really build units such as Xingqiu, Synchros, and Nahida, and the elemental gauge system and the team damage is something that you really have to think about. It makes sense that you want a tier list in Genshin in order to really understand the battle mechanics and the right people in order to have in your team. I mean, the national team is important for a reason because those 3 units alone make up a good majority of your damage. And of course, it's really important to make your team as strong as possible because the level of investment you need to clear some of the higher floors in something like Spiral Abyss can be pretty high. Aside from the fact that we don't get resin though, it's something that you really need to manage properly. The simplicity is something that I truly enjoy with Honkai, however, and it's something that's really nice to just be able to press buttons instead of, having to really understand the game mechanics to really be able to get into it. Now, the story is where I get very bored with it, and to be completely honest with you, the only reason I do the story quest is to, without a lack of a better reason, explore other areas. I don't find it that entertaining, but neither do I for any other gacha game I've played aside from Genshin, because I just ride that game so hard. But even that game has terrible plot holes and unnecessary challenges poised to the main character, so it's kind of one and done for me at this point. But hey, why am I comparing it to Genshin so much? In fact, why am I comparing it to any other gacha at all? You're right. Let's get back to the actual dirt of this game. If you enjoy a open world RPG with simple battle mechanics, vibrant cutscenes, beautiful characters, and an easy to digest story, then Honkai Star Rail is the game for you. It's still in its early stages of playability and I can't wait for it to get better as time goes on. What I will say is that there have been some issues I found, at least on PC. Supposedly, this game has optimization issues with it, and some people have run into the problem of the game just freezing without warning in the intro screen and having to restart the game in order to be able to actually access the content inside. It seems to be a minor issue right now, but I for one foresaw at least a few issues with a new launch of a game. Or maybe it's all the spyware MiHoYo puts on your PC. I'm joking. Or am I? For my final tally, I think I can be optimistic and hope that it becomes better over time. If you're worrying about team compositions, tier lists, or anything else, just throw those concerns away. It's still very early to tell, and with time, we'll know better than to listen to strangers who want to give out their opinion over a fresh new game. I say that as I put out a first impression video, but whatever. I'd say for now, I can give it a solid 7 out of 10, and if you don't agree, well, how about you find out on your own? Well guys, how is that for a review? Probably mid, but I'll deal with it. If you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more content. I'm probably not going to focus on making content for Honkai that much, but if I feel like doing so, then I'll put out a few videos here and there. By the way, I realistically decided to try it out after seeing those cringe ads on TikTok with Doro and Bran, but no hate, I know they're simply chasing the bag and I cannot fault them for that. It just reminded me of the terrible ads that MiHoYo loves to put out, such as,
Don't use Kaya to challenge this enemy. I can help you guys take on this monster using my Hyungni, who's a pro.
Or
I played for 1 week and got to level 20.
I also played for 1 week and just hit level 30.
How did you level up so quickly?
honestly, they never been great at making ads for their games. I low-key prefer the silent ones with the music in the background way more, telling me how to collect wood. You know which one I'm talking about. All in all, I find this game to be very entertaining, and I cannot wait to get to the end game sooner or later. Honestly, I just hope that it doesn't turn to shit. And that's really it. This has been RGB Fox, and I wish you guys a very good rest of your day. Peace.